Right, let's go through the papers then this morning with the CEO of the Diana Award, Tessie Ojo, and the political editor of the Sunday Mirror, Nigel Nelson. Tessie, let's start with you. The cost of living crisis creating a mental health time bomb, says the Mirror.
Absolutely. This is a piece from Dame Kelly Holmes, who really just talked about how, again, everything we've been saying before, the cost of living crisis and increased bill and less, we're talking about potentially, possibly a blackout in the winter and all of that. And actually, she's written this piece encouraging the government to pay attention, to do something, because it's a time bomb. It's we are going to experience, we are going to see the impact at some point, and I feel like we're sleepwalking into it. And when that thing happens, we all go, oh my God, goodness, how did we miss this? And I completely agree with her article saying, open your eyes, pay attention, do something now. This is a time bomb that would happen at some point.
And they are announcing £122 million today. We've got Vicky Prentice from the government on in a few moments' time to talk about that. But we spoke to, I think it was a psychiatrist, a forensic psychiatrist a little bit earlier on in the programme, who said that mental health provision in this country is diabolical, and that simply will not be enough. It needs complete overhaul right from the very bottom so that people can get face-to-face help very early on to stop it getting more serious.
Absolutely, and the fact is that people are being turned away from hospitals because they're too hard pressed, and these are people who actually they've got mental health problems, they need help. It could be self-harm, it could be something more serious like suicide. And over the last year that you've seen an awful lot of people, nearly 1 million people, turned away because they just can't get that help. And if you don't intervene early, it just makes matters even worse.
Absolutely. And the thing is, we're talking about those that have there's almost different layers. We're not talking about that low level early support, like the first aids. We're not even talking about that. And there's some people that if we intervene early now, we can catch before it becomes worse. And even whilst we're talking about general mental health support, there's also the mental health support that's culturally competent. And that's a whole different conversation that just a general support system will not capture if we're not actually being intentional about being culturally competent in our support.
Yeah, well, those are really good points. We'll put them to the Minister at the DWP, Victoria Prentice, later on this hour. Nigel, I'm just interested. Page 8 of The Sun, MI5 wants applications from women and minorities, and it says licence to Jill.
That is the headline of the day.
Yes, it's a great headline, absolutely. What MI5 is saying is that they've got some £33,000 a year jobs going, but they want to confine the people who get them to women and ethnic minorities. Now, quite clearly, you can't nowadays in multicultural Britain have a surveillance team made up of white middle-aged men. They stand out like a sore thumb. The only question really here is that the word in the advert for it is that it's only these people, only women, only people from ethnic minority backgrounds are they recruiting, which makes you wonder if, well, hang on, are there not other people out there they might need too? So I understand why they want to get more diversity in MI5, as many organisations are doing. It would certainly make sense, it would be better for national security to have that, but to actually row out a complete section of the population who now can't apply seems to be going one stage too far.
Yeah,
but I think that isn't this on the backdrop of having done an audit? So they've audited themselves, they've identified the gaps, and they've been intentional about filling that gap, and I applaud that. However, I would often say getting people in is just the first step. What are the structures you have in place to ensure progression? It's not just about getting people in to tick the box, to say, we now have a diverse workforce. What are those policies that hold people back? We understand that glass ceiling happens. So when these people come in, how long do they actually stay with you before you fall short again and then roll out another?
Because people say to us, those people who have ticked a box, they then feel they're being judged that they're only there because they ticked a box, and they don't want that to be the case.
That's the other side of it, absolutely.
You know, a
That's the other side
meritocracy
of it,
has to
yeah.
be the ambition for everyone. We just
And
need to have
also-
better opportunities lower down.
Bear in mind, MI5, they've had 2 women director generals. So, I mean, certainly women can get to the top there. Obviously, that you've got to consider people from ethnic backgrounds, whether or not that's the same kind of progression. But I think you're absolutely right, Isabel, that there is this sort of feeling that how much of a leg up are you giving people, and are people getting to the top by their own skills and efforts?
Yeah, and also if I may throw in, when you apply for a job, normally you've got the bit of the form that kind of talks about how you identify, right? And they always say that's separate from the application, isn't it? So what I'm thinking is sometimes it's not quite clear whether you belong to an ethnic minority or not. So I class myself as mixed race, but because it's on my dad's side, my surname is anglicised. So would I get in? Am I counted as an ethnic minority when I apply to MI5 or not? It's not quite. I'd be interested to know how clear that is.
Yeah. But I feel like because they have, I'm not a huge person to say, look, just go for it for the purpose of it. But if you've gone through a clear process and you've identified a group that you need to improve your services, then by all means say this is, and again you can decide ethnic minority is a huge thing. What exactly are you looking for? And you think, does that include disability? I mean, it probably doesn't, because that's ethnic minorities, but that's also huge. Define it a little bit better, make it more clear.
Can't you do that on a point system, though? I mean, in other words, that I don't see any reason why, if you need to recruit certain groups of people, if those people come forward, they get more points to begin with. But it's the idea of actually rowing out completely everybody else. That's the bit that I find.
But the thing, isn't it that they have that everybody else? For example, I have no inside info on this particular story, but if you have a workforce of 100, and actually you're thinking, we need at least 5 people, whatever, to make us a bit balanced, be more reflective of the community that we serve. What's the point of saying these 5 people, anybody can apply? Why don't you say what you really want? It's as good
thing. The colour of your skin effectively doesn't affect your ability to do the job. Surely,
exactly.
And if you're only appointing people based on the colour of their skin rather than their abilities, then you're just damaging the quality of the...
But I don't think that's what they're saying. They are saying we want to be intentional about that we want this group. That doesn't mean they're going to wade through all the skills. That doesn't mean they're going to get a free pass. That means they're going to go through the process. They will have all the competencies, but they're going to be intentional in who they're looking for.
Well, let us know your views at home on all of this, gbviews@gbnews.uk. Nigel, people working from the pub, they're claiming this is to save on energy. I mean, they could work in a library or they could work in a cafe, but they've gone down the boozer.
But it so happens a pub group is offering this idea, which is Young's is a pub chain with 185 pubs. Anyway, for £15 a day, what you can do is that you can go to the pub, that they will give you a quiet space, they'll plug in all your electronics, you'll get lunch while you're there, unlimited tea or coffee. Sounds a bit like being here, doesn't it? And at the end of the day, if you fancy a drink, a gin and tonic or a beer, you can have that too. I think this is a great...
I'm in.
Yeah, I mean, obviously what you don't want to do is find that people end up spending all day at the bar, but as long as they're actually working, I think that we've had a reset after COVID. Flexible working is much more around for all of us. And if you don't want the isolation of being at home, the fact that you can perhaps just go down the road and set up your laptop in a pub or whatever seems to me quite a good idea.
You don't think that people might get drunk whilst working?
Well, there's always a danger.
I mean, an actual danger, like a legitimate concern. If you've got that temptation, you're there, and everyone's drinking around you.
But I mean, if you think about it, if you're working from home and you're a drinker, you've probably got a cocktail cabinet there anyway.
Rees-Mogg might have something to say about it.
I'm sorry?
Jacob Rees-Mogg.
Oh, he won't like it.
Yeah. But I think employers have to be increasingly flexible, allowing people to work where they can and be their best self. So, I think being creative at this time, especially where people don't want to hit their homes, If that helps, yeah. But also you have to be self-disciplined.
Yeah. Tessie, you wanted to talk about a story in the Mirror about the quality falling in children's school meals, something that we've touched on this morning on the programme.
Indeed. I think that, for many, many families, if you flip back to the pandemic when actually there was a big campaign to make sure that kids got their free school meals even if they weren't going into school, because loads of families depend on this one hot meal a day to get their children through. And research shows now that the quality, about 52% of providers says the quality of the meal is going to drop. And that just, like, you're thinking, then what are we offering? We weren't talking about top-notch food. Anyway, we're talking about at least the basic necessities, but it's hot.
Yeah.
Now, if we're saying the quality is going to drop, then what next?
Yeah.
And I think you can just take this story and apply it to social care, to hospitals, and it's the same problem. And I think it is a huge issue. I went to visit a friend in hospital on Friday. Her lunch was brought in. It was a shriveled up jacket potato, tiny, with a packet piece of butter and a little tub of cheese. And she's ill. And, your food is how you get well. And these children are growing and they need to learn in school, and nutrition is important. And it's a huge problem, I think.
Yeah, well, the figures are that for infant school meals, they just get £2.41 for each meal. For free school meals, when you're a bit older, £2.47. That's a very small amount to actually provide somebody with a lunch, and a proper nutritious lunch, which might be their main meal of the day. Otherwise, they wouldn't be getting it. So I think they need to look at just how much money you have to spend on these things.
Well, there are economies of scale. You'd be surprised how much you can make for a small amount of money when you've got 600 meals to make. You can buy loads of tinned tomato or whatever for sort of discounted amount. But yeah, you're right. No, I'm told that's how you can make these meals on a shoestring.
Economies of scale, absolutely.
Well, I think it's about what we prioritise. We just need to prioritise, look after our young. We just need to get better at that.
Yeah, they are the future. It wasn't just a Lionel Richie line. Nigel, in the Daily Mail, be a good boy, your dog behaves like you.
Yes, indeed. This is.
I like this.
I love this survey.
Yeah.
It's by the Kennel Club. What it is that we don't just look like our dogs, but apparently we behave like them. And so when we choose a dog, we choose a dog that behaves a bit like us. So if you're a Border Terrier owner, you're likely to be charming. If you have a Staffordshire Bull Terrier, you're trustworthy. A King Charles Spaniel, you tend to be loyal. A Schnauzer, then you have an agreeable personality. What I want to see when I go out from here is they don't mention Dachshund owners, so I want to see if we find sort of people waddling around with little legs as if they were Dachshund.
Looking at your legs, they look in proportion.
You have a dog yourself?
No, I've got 2 cats.
That's right.
I was going to say, what about people who do not have dogs? I don't have a dog.
Are you a cat owner yourself?
No.
Or no?
I love children.
Right.
I have no space for pets.
Okay. Well, sometimes there can be similar challenges, but pets and children.
But I think that's funny. That's hilarious. Not only does it look like you, but behaves like you. Tessie, you wanted to talk about the Premier League. This is in the Metro. This is about the Gunners. Tell us more.
So just want to caveat that I do not support any club in particular.
I saw this and I thought you'd be an Arsenal fan.
Well, to be fair, so my husband supports Arsenal, my son supports Man U, so I'm very neutral in my household.
Okay.
But so this story really caught my attention, obviously from I think it was the other summer with Saka, when he lost the penalty and he got lots of racial abuse.
Yeah, in the European Championship final.
This is it. And that's when kind of that story caught my attention. And just yesterday, somehow I caught the end of the match and I saw him getting ready to take this penalty and my heart sank because I remembered that. And he got it and he won and he scored. And it was just such an incredible story of victory. I think we talked earlier about the lion inside, and there's just something about the courage and that made him, so many times in life when you get knocked down, you think that's it, I'm done, I'm out. But there was something for me that caught my attention. I felt, what a courageous person, he's only 21 as well, and the abuse he suffered a couple of years ago could have made him speak, you know what, I'm done with this. But I just thought that was such a brave and courageous story, and I wanted to share that.
Oh, thank you. That's a really nice note to end on.
Great example of resilience.
Indeed.
And adversity.
The lion inside. I think that's it. We've done all of our stories. Tessie Ojo, CEO of Diana Awards, and Nigel Nelson, political editor at the Sunday Mirror, I should say. Is that right? Yes, it says Daily Mirror on here. I'm confused now. Thank you both very much indeed for going through the papers with us this morning.